Five. Evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting of the Council and Committee for the Town of Petawawa for December 9th, 2024 to order. Welcome to members of council, members of staff, and all of our guests in the studio audience. We'll start this evening's meeting off by the reading of the land acknowledgement, and this evening it's Councillor Donovan.
Thank you. As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of the Petawawa Town Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Omani-Wanini people. We would like to thank the Omani-Wanini people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, and we wish to acknowledge our shared responsibilities in responding to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's 94 calls to action. Call to action number 35. We call upon the federal government to eliminate barriers to the creation of additional Aboriginal healing lodges within the federal correctional system. Recent progress. Correctional Services of Canada is directly responsible for the creation of additional Indigenous healing lodges or establishing Section 81 agreements and funding arrangements with Indigenous groups and governing bodies within the federal correction system. Healing lodges have consistently shown to reduce recidivism and enhance rehabilitation and reintegration.
Thank you, Councillor Donovan. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest on any of the evening's matters? There's no presentations. Thanks everyone for braving the roads tonight to come here and join us for, I guess it's a super committee tonight. Got the gang's all here. We're going to start this evening off with our fire department report for November 2024. Acting Chief Crew, you get to go first this evening.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of council. For the report for November, starting with incidents, starting with the fire alarms, we had 5. One on Noble, which ended up a faulty alarm. 19-liter lane with electric component failure. We had one in Northbrook that they found outside the residence, was damaged. James Street, which was a faulty detector, and there was testing being done at, on Petawawa Boulevard. For motor vehicle collisions, we had 2. We had both at 17 and Dorn. One was a 3-vehicle MVC, the other one was a 2-vehicle. We had an unauthorized burning on Lisa Crescent, November 9th. And we had a call that came in as a structure fire, but the crews responded and it was melted, blew in, and damaged part of the door and the siding of the home. Crews were able to bring it under control. But smoke in the garage on Black Bay Road on the 23rd. We had a carbon monoxide on November 25th. It was due to a faulty seal alarm. A hydro pole caught fire on Summers Road. And we had a smell of smoke on Ravenwood Crescent where the crews couldn't detect where the source was. We had called to 2 elevator rescues. One on the 29th and one on the 30th. One on the 29th, the crew successfully extricated 3 youths from the elevator. For fire prevention, we had 26 inspections for the month, and 2 that were late entries. For training or for fire prevention, our chief fire inspector completed the vulnerable occupancy course on November 20th, and October 1st, we conducted extinguisher training with 12 staff from the daycare. For residential smoke and CO inspections, we had 46 residents checked, that brings our total to 304. For the recreation permits, we started with 922 and we finished with 925 for the month. For training, our crews conducted the introduction to effective command. This is a new platform that's being introduced to the fire service. The Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs really recommend this program. We got it for a month to test and actually very effective with the command and control. So we're looking at purchasing that. For firefighter survival, our crews did their annual training where they learned how to keep themselves safe by demonstrating low profile entanglement, SCBA, categorization, and what to do if they get in trouble. And we also did some training with winter pump operations as we're getting into the winter months. For maintenance, we had minor maintenance on 2 vehicles. We did a big cleanup out at our training site to end the year off. And there was a couple SCBA bottles that were repaired. We had a training generator for its annual maintenance. And for the acting fire chief's comments, November 6th and 7th, myself and the Director of Legislative Services, we attended the Community Emergency Management Coordinator, PMC training that was held in Long Sault for Emergency Management with Ontario. November 13th, a request for proposal closed for the radio or portable radios. And there was a award given to 5-9 Solutions for 22,000 for 12 radios. On November 18th to 22nd, I attended the general meeting for the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs. On the 21st, the acting deputy chief attended the senior management. On the 25th, he also attended the new tracking system. For the 27th, we had a officers department meeting. And the 28th, we submitted our grant for the Fire Marshal Public Fire Safety Council for funding, which is a 3-year program. They're giving out 30 million and they're giving out 10 million each year over the 3 years. So we're hoping to recoup some costs on some items. And that's my report for November.
Thanks, Craig. Questions on the fire department report? Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You just had my attention with the 42 Northbrook alarm that was found out in the yard. Has been vandalized, taken out of the hole and top.
No, it wasn't. The crews just located it. It was called in by a passerby and it just, I don't know if the residents were throwing it out, but it was damaged. It may have been run over, but it wasn't from the residents.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one point and a couple of questions. Just really great to see all the inspections for the residents. There's always a lot of information I think that goes on at those, so good work there. With respect to the unauthorized burning, are charges being laid? Are they pending? Normally have shown here, so that's just a question. And then just the elevator rescues, one day apart, one day apart. Is there something that we're looking at for education for the public or anything like that? Or is there something that we can do? Because I think you're right, the report is extraordinarily dangerous. It starts up, I mean, it's not going to be a good scene, but wondering what your thoughts are on that too.
So there is charges pending for that one residence right now. For the elevator rescue, we are looking at a cost recovery for these calls. That's built in the master fire plan. It's going to take a little bit of time for us to put something together in the cost recovery bylaw, but going to the safety aspect of it, those elevators are very dangerous if the power is not shut down. And we have educated the business owner, and it looked like some residents took it upon themselves to self-extricate themselves. When our crews go there, and we did get the training the last few years, they have to power down the car and then look at moving it, but it's all done in control. We're looking at, changing some of our tactics with that because it's new to us, but the safety is huge, and we are we're educating the businesses because we can't allow them to self-extricate.
Thanks, Craig. For sure, it's definitely not like it happens on TV, right? So people need to be very mindful of the danger they're putting themselves into. And for really also nice, it's always music to my ears when I hear cost recovery. So thanks for that.
Further questions on the report? Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. Just going to say anything that will be fine. Thank you for asking that question about the elevator. That was on my mind. I just wanted to ask about the vulnerable occupancy. Is that strictly nursing homes? And I'm not sure, I realize you're not going to the training, but, I'm wondering how far we are as far as like the registry of our volleyball.
So every year we have to submit, to the fire marshal's office. We do two, safety talks with the residents, and we do, we check their fire escape plans, make sure that those are completed and they exercise that. We do have, it just does not encompass just the seniors. There's a number of residents that we have marked in our community that we're watching, and we have it with our dispatch as well. So we have to keep an eye on that part of our community. So Simon, we had to take the training that goes with the registry of the Ontario Fire Marshal, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we watch it carefully.
Any other questions on the report? Just to follow up on the elevator fiasco there. I find it odd that we haven't had, I don't think we've ever had to do an extraction from the elevator, and then we host a large hockey tournament with a lot of youth, and all of a sudden the elevators are getting stuck. Is this a case where people are jumping up and down while the elevator's in motion, and that's why it gets stuck? Or was this a true case of equipment malfunction?
That's a good question. I'm not 100%, but I know in the one instance that the youth were jumping in the elevator, possibly stopped it. The next night there was adults in there with the youths, and I don't know what the deal was with that, if there was any movement, but I'm not sure if it's the same elevator that we dealt with previous years. So I think that there's a possibility that if there's any additional movement in the car, it will stop.
Okay, thanks for that answer. And thanks to you and all of your crew who attended the parade with all of the vehicles. It was an excellent parade, and great to have all of you guys out there participating and handing out the candy. And just one word on the accident, 2 accidents on the Dorn and Highway 17 intersection. I just find it disturbing, distressing, frustrating, I guess I could say, in that we're trying to get the government to 4-lane that and put a proper overpass in all of our intersections here on Highway 17. And until we do, and as long as there's lights at those intersections, there's going to be accidents. So it's unfortunate to see that continuing to happen. And we have asked for a delegation at Roma, January in Toronto, to ask them to please consider to start 4-laning our highways up here in Petawawa because of the dangers. So it's unfortunate to see that continuing to happen at our intersections on Highway 17. Okay, any further questions? All right, I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Driscoll. That the fire department monthly report for November be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? That's carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Okay, next we have the recreation and culture programming report for the month of November. I got the title right this time. Recreation and culture. Colin, give us your report for November.
Even Mayor and Council, we've had a busy month as per usual with November and another busy month coming. Just to review it, I had the opportunity this month to continue our tourism growth, meeting with the RCATV Club, and start some planning ahead of time for 2025. So that's something that extensions coming on trails, tourism growing, and RCATV. It's been a great team to work with on growing that for next year. We continue to work on the recreation master plan. It's coming along. We've had a few meetings, and I'm positive we're going to have it in the next few weeks to finalize the details of coming along with master plan to ensure that it's a concise document that works for everyone involved. We had a really good meeting with staff from Laurentian Valley and the recreation and economic development team there to talk about collaboration moving forward. So we're planning on extending and going forward with the water and dirt around that event with that collaboration. But we're also in the planning phase at some other events that we collaborate on with our neighbors next door. And as some of the the council members here know, we had our first senior advisory meeting. So it's a formal meeting, just a gathering. So that was a great opportunity. We've got a really good committee put forward, some great members that have a lot of energy. So I have really good hopes on moving forward with that committee as we had our first meeting, and they're already keen for the second and third to come. So at this time, I would like to take a moment just to introduce Joe Mick. For those who haven't met Joe, he is our recreation programmer. He has just recently passed his 6-month probationary period. So we have decided we're going to keep him around. He's done an exceptional job. To show that, Joe was actually awarded an award from the Rural Recreation Association on basically getting into his recent graduate at Algonquin College, and they recognized his drive in recreation and his valuable employment in recreation. And so I just want to take this time to actually bring Joe forward. So people who have not had the chance to meet Joe face to face, this is Joe.
Congratulations.
It's already been a great part of our group, and a lot of the programs that you're seeing there, whether it's some of the senior stuff that we're doing, a lot of the kids' activities, Joe's been at the face of that. So it's nice to have some young, fresh blood that's out there and to do it. He's really shown himself to be valuable to our department. In speaking with Unks, we've also been lucky to bring on Noelle Green. He is our bookings clerk and receptionist. So that is a modified role from maternity leave, and she has fit into the group really well. And she'll be on for the next few months to cover maternity leave. So we have another a new face in the department. So if you have a chance to stop by and introduce yourself, that's much welcome. And then carrying on with programs and activities, you can see we've had a busy month, whether it's children, adults, active aging grant that's offered as new programming, as well as the activities that take place at the South. You can see from this time last year that we probably doubled, if not tripled, our programs and events. So thank you to all the support that you've given us to move forward with those opportunities. And not last, but certainly not least, is some of the new events that we've been doing. We had a chance to celebrate 50 years of the Civic Center. That building has been the hub, the center of this community. Everything from hockey, events, weddings has been and continues to be the center of this community. So we really appreciate it being around this long, and we'll keep growing as well. And then last on the list for this month, we continue a new initiative called Coffee House, basically musicians coming in from all over Ontario that we've been hosting with coffee and tea, and this, what we thought was a great new idea, just continues to grow. So this is only our second one. We've anticipated in 400, so we're halfway there. So we'll continue to offer those and sort of the food, the culture, and music growth that fits within our department. And that is everything for the month of November.
Okay, thanks, Colin, for that report, and welcome aboard. I know it's been 6 months, Joe, but welcome aboard past your probationary period, and congratulations on your award. That's fantastic. And I did have a chance to meet Noelle today for the first time. I was at the office then, and seems to be doing great and fitting in nicely already. Questions on the report? Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Just a comment, really, I just want to thank you for sparing Shaolin for that day of training. Bernadette McCann had come to town to give on Intimate Partner Violence. So her feedback to the facilitators and her participation in that seminar was amazing. So thank you for sparing her and bringing that training to staff.
Deputy Mayor Sanders.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Just a kudos to the whole team with the diversity of programs, targeting everything from those that like to be seated and be crafty to those who are real active in the community. Really nice to see. So please extend the appreciation to the team of great, not only supporters, but innovators. That's what I like to say.
Councillor Kern.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Colin, just a question about the meeting with the Renfrew County ATV Club. I was wondering what's going on there. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit.
This is an opportunity in talking with members of the club that we're going to be incorporating them into the Water and Dirt Festival. So this is another chance for what I dreamed up years ago as a small event. Is now reaching up to about 15 different events over the course of 2 weeks. So this is a group that came forward to us and wanted to be part. I mean, with the name like Water and Dirt, they fit in very well. So we're looking at how we can expand that, and they're also looking at how they can be involved more in our community, whether it's Civic Center days, the road or our parade this past weekend. So they want to be a vital part of the community and give back at charity events. So this was a chance to sit down and sort of start scheduling and putting in the calendar for 2025.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Councillor Tutu?
Sorry, one more, and I'm sure I'm preempting the mayor, but the parade on the weekend was amazing, and I think I saw you everywhere. So all of the work that staff did, I think it was really appreciated. I've heard nothing but amazing feedback, despite the weather. So thank you.
It was much appreciated. There was a lot of staff. It wasn't just me. I appreciate all the staff, the other departments that were involved with this. It was a big community event, not just the recreation department. So I appreciate everyone that took the time and it went above and beyond. So I think in the 15 years I've been here, that must have been the biggest parade I've seen so far.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Yeah, so I'll just add on to that. Not only was it the biggest, but it seemed like everybody was putting a lot of effort into the floats as well. As the years go on and we continue with our nighttime floats, it looks like everybody's trying to step up and win that plaque. But thanks to you and all of the team, it was a fantastic parade. Even though it was a little bit chilly. And now that we're talking about recreation, the county did release have a media release today about the Algonquin Trail going through Garrison and Petawawa. So it's officially finished. All the bridges, culverts, limestone dusting is all complete, even though it's snow underneath the snow. But it'll be open now for the snowmobile soon, and that'll get us all the way past Deep River, almost to the Riviera now. So they'll have an official ribbon cutting in the spring of 2025 when they officially open that section. So that's exciting news for everybody, not just here in Petawawa, but all over Vancouver County. Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, thanks, Colin, for your report. I need a motion to accept this report. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sandberg, seconded by Councillor Carmody, that the Recreation and Culture Monthly Report for November be accepted as presented. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, next we have RCP-12-2024, Municipal Accommodation Tax. We've been talking about this for a while and it's finally here.
So for those that remember, a few months ago, I came in to present basically the background of the MAT tax. So today I'm here just looking for council to approve the implementation of the MAT tax, as well as the attached document that include the budget and principle of what we have with the policies, as well as the bylaw, and finish it all off, the agreement that we have with the OPTA. So just those who aren't familiar with it, to give a bit of background, the MAT is a tax that's imposed by the municipalities. In Petawawa, we are looking at a 3% tax. The standard right now is 4%, but many, if we don't want to forget, many of the municipalities started off at 1% and 2% and 3%. So in conversations with our local accommodators, the request was to go at 3%, which I feel is very fair. So we are recommending a 3% tax. Just to give you a background on this, for those that might not have been at council at the time, back in 2017, the Ontario government put this MAT tax forward as an opportunity for municipalities to basically get back some of the money that's required when tourists come into town, use roads, waters, and so on and so forth. Back in 2019, the OPTA would have presented to various councils across the county, basically a report on what that tax can do, how it works, and where the funds can go. Unfortunately, at that time, nothing moved forward. None of the municipalities across the county chose to accept it. But as this day comes forward, I think the county is starting to move forward in the municipalities. That being said, this year, early this year, it was actually two of the large accommodators that came forward to myself, asking how do we move forward with this. The two hotels saw the opportunity that this was a tax that they don't have to pay, our residents don't have to pay. It's the visitors to our community. So if council members here have the opportunity to visit locations outside of our area, Petawawa, Toronto, and when I travel, that is a tax that you will find out for a bill. That money goes back into the community to help offset any projects that you're working on that are either recreation or tourism based. So what we're looking to do is start that tax, working with the accommodators as of January 1st this coming year, giving them the time to prep the paperwork that's required, prepare their computer systems and everything else, that any contract they have can also include that. So they're budgeting for it as well as things that they need to prepare. I've had the chance to work with the finance department to ensure that all the paperwork is done. And then moving forward, we're going to be collecting this quarterly. We'll give a chance no different than the HST or any other taxes similar to that. The businesses collect that, hold it in the savings account until payment occurs over 4 times a year. That being said, we're looking at an estimated $200,000 of revenue working with hotels to come up with that estimate. Approximately $80,000 each from the 2 larger hotels, and then the other 3 smaller hotels would contribute the rest. With that being said, with what the provinces put forward, that's enough money to be split between ourselves and that DMO. Our local DMO, or Destination Marketing Organization, is the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association. So with us contributing 50%, which is required, and we are going to look at a 50-50 split. We can't go any lower, we can go higher, but we are looking at a 15% split to contribute to the OBTA using those funds, promote only Petawawa with that money raised. So it's $100,000 that would be used in the social media campaign, paper campaigns, anything that we basically use to promote our area. That funds cannot be used for other jurisdictions in our area and must remain with the promotion of recreation and tourism. That being said, that leaves us with hopefully $100,000 of course of the next year, which we'll budget for 2026. And those funds will be offset for recreation events for our residents, growth tourism initiatives, and other types of programs that we want to come up with. So that being said, that we can move forward with this tax at said rate if council is comfortable doing so. Any questions about the tax or anything that we'd like to move forward with?
Thank you, Colin. Questions from council? Councilor Graham.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thanks for bringing this forward, Colin. It's whether you agree with the tax or not, it's certainly something that we have to move forward with. It's one of the very few revenue tools that we as a council have. Property tax and municipal accommodation tax. That's about it. If we don't implement it, we certainly can't expect the province to pony up any other revenue tools for us to use. And I believe you answered one of my questions about the 50-50 split with the DMO. That sounds like that's a legislative requirement. Yeah, okay. Do we intend to have a registry? Is there, like the people who are in the business of collecting this tax, are they going to be on the registry with the municipality somehow?
So these are for year 1. There's still some sort of trial and error that has to be used. So it will be the 5 hotels that are already registered businesses in Petawawa, and then we'll be able to move forward with that from there.
But I guess I see in the bylaw that bed and breakfast is included, a number of other smaller operations. And if you kind of go down smaller and smaller, you'll wind up with people who maybe have a cottage and then rent it out for 2, 3 weeks a year so that are they going to be paying, full accommodation tax as well? And if so, how are they to know about this tax? Like, how are we going to advertise it? Or I know ignorance of the law is no excuse. However, I think it would be incumbent upon us to make this known to some people.
We will, as Colin mentioned, only be registering or requiring registration of the 5 hotels. Full stop. So we are not going down to the cottages yet. Having spoken with other municipalities, specifically the treasurers who need to administer and collect these funds, they went down to that level of detail right off the bat and have then since scaled it back. So we are fortunate that we are slow to implement this because we are able to learn from the mistakes of others, to put it bluntly. So we are actually starting off small and slowly, and starting off with the hotels, the larger chains of operations. And then as we continue we will evaluate and expand the program as needed. There are third-party companies that can help with the volume, but in so far as administering the program for 5 hotels, we were able to handle that with in-house.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Just looking at the draft bylaw, but appear that in its current form, it includes B&Bs and cottage rentals and that sort of thing. So maybe it's included but not enforced, or not sure how we plan to.
That's not the intent, no. I think I forget which section, but the 5 hotels are specifically listed in the bylaw, and we will be requiring them to.
Further questions? Councillor Driscoll.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, appreciate your explanation. You definitely answered quite a few of my questions before you got there. The one is with so I understand 50/50 split now. I know we're on a 5-year contract with their thing, which can obviously be extended. Can we look at a smaller contract? I'm just wondering if we're not getting our value for $100,000, is there any other organizations that could the money go to if, say, in 2 years down the road, like, you know what, for $100,000 a year, we're not getting what we think we could be doing better somewhere else, instead of having to wait to 5. I know there's the clause you can get, but is there anyone else where we kind of stuck with what we get?
We can get out. That being said, it has to be a tourism base, so we can't choose a non-profit. Their mandate has to be tourism. So they are currently the only non-profit DMO in the area, unless we were to strike up our own group, which does have a lot of complications. They do have the expertise and have been around for decades and decades. They are already currently promoting Petawawa. This will just give them the ability to do more of their budget.
And just to add to that too, the agreement with OBTA does require them to report to us. So if we are, at least from an accountability and transparency perspective, that's where we can get that feedback, not necessarily, I think it's on a quarterly basis too as well, that we'll get updates from them. So it'll be timely feedback and monitoring from for staff as well as council.
Yeah, like I've nothing against that. I think they'll probably do a great job. But if we're giving a contract for $100,000 a year, it'd be nice to know that we are getting our money worth and if there are any other opportunities. Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Councillor Toohey.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for all the work that went into this. I just want to say I find it really encouraging that it's our accommodators that came forward with this. They clearly see the value of engaging this way. So I'm really looking forward to what that money does for help this profile and what we can do to invest in our recreation. So again, thank you very much.
Further questions or comments? I think it's great that you did consult with our our tourism operators here in Petawawa, and that they were more than willing to be a part of this. I think it's great that we involved them in all steps of this process. But they are going to benefit because the OVTA will get part of that money and promote our area, which in turn will provide them guests for the hotels and the motels. The question I had is, in terms of us collecting this money quarterly, will all of those funds go into a specified reserve account?
Yes.
Okay. And in terms of the money spent by the OVTA, I know that through my work with the county that they've been hiring, what you call them, influencers, who come here and take the little TikTok, Instagram videos of things that are happening in town. Is that the type of thing that some of this money may be spent on?
So we will be collecting the money and not be for a year. So that money will collect, so we know exactly how much money we will be able to use. So that will include anything from social media campaigns, influencers. They will put forward basically a calendar of what they're looking to do, and we'll be able to go through it and then ingredients agree that the issues that are going to put in.
Okay, that's good to hear. So it sounds like we have a little more control than I thought in terms of even how they're spending the money on their community.
But we do. So this will be something that they won't be able to move forward, especially if there's anything substantial being spent without talking to us.
So with that in mind, could we make requests of them in terms of something like the Water and Dirt Festival? Could we say, could you spend a bit of money promoting this festival for it?
That's pretty well our aim, is to sort of have a bit of a guiding hand on where the money is being spent and focus. So as we see growth in things like the Water and Dirt Festival, as we see definite growth in ATV and snowmobiling in our area, that's why the hotels came forward to us, because they want to see, it's great that they're running at 75 to 80% capacity. And I'm sure all those hotel owners would love to be at 100. So that's why this group has come forward to say, but if we have this money, that'll give us the opportunity to focus where we're spending that money to attract more people.
Okay, it all sounds great. And I know there in 2017, there were some initial concerns that adding a 3% or a 4% tax onto a hotel room, that might scare a few people away. But in all the times I've ever stayed in a hotel, I don't think I've ever looked at my bill. You just find out how much the hotel costs if you pay it, and you don't worry what it is made up of. So I don't know if everybody else is like me, but if it's in there, it's in there, and you just pay it, and as you say. Deputy Mayor Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Based on that, I feel the need to say I'm not like you. I look at every item on my bill. I make sure that the charges are actually mine, but I think if I remember back to when we presented Jamie from the hotel came and was a supporter already. So thanks very much for all the work you've done and the team has done and the accommodation people. I think it's a very good thing.
Okay, I'll just read the recommendation. The council approves the implementation of the municipal accommodation tax in conjunction with all attached documents, policy, municipal accommodation tax budget principles, the bylaw, municipal accommodation tax bylaw, and the agreement with the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association. So if you're comfortable with that, I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Driscoll. The council approved the implementation of the municipal accommodation tax in conjunction with all attached documents, policy, the municipal accommodation tax budget principles, the bylaw, municipal accommodation tax bylaw, and the agreement with the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thanks, Colin. Looking forward to see how we do in year one. Okay, next we have the Economic Development Monthly Report for, it says October. Is it actually November?
Yeah. No, that's not.
It's October. Oh, there's two. Uh-huh. So we'll hear October first. Christine.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and members of council. The first report before you is for the month of October. In the month of October, we registered 2 commercial businesses and 4 home-based businesses. We also, presented ED 1324, a mega CIP program for 3067 Petawawa Boulevard, which was approved. So the necessary paperwork, and contractual, documents were facilitated for that particular grant. In business general, there's a series of discussions and communications with seeing potential business development opportunities for the community. In terms of partner engagements, I did attend the Labor Market Municipal Group meeting on October the 10th, where we received a presentation by Dr. David Coletto of the Abacus Data Group. It was an excellent presentation that spoke about data and how business consumer sentiment is past, present, and potentially future. So it gave us a lot of insight into labor, the labor availability, and the general needs and wants between the business and what the employees are looking for. It was a very good discussion. It was followed up by multiple labor market engagements, both in person and virtually. The labor market group report is out and available through the labor market to see. The positive being that employment or the availability of employees is on the rise in Renfrew County compared to this time. October is Ramble. We did lots of work on Ramble between facilitating it and operating it. It was a very successful Ramble this year. Just some of the highlights: over 59 people participated in the Harvest Portrait Walk activity, and $310 was raised for the Petawawa Pantry. The Harvest Breakfast through the Legion saw 125 meals served, 400 attendees at the Heritage Village activity. 225 people participated at the Pork on a Bun event, Drew Histon. 200 participants came through the CNL booth as part of Family Day on the Sunday. We also had 200 participants to the Rotary Mini Putt activity. We had 500 participants at the market on the Sunday. 110 tickets and 4 businesses were supported through the Pints and Gourds event that happens as part of Ramble. 175 tickets, 12 vendors, 2 musicians, and 2 additional businesses supported in the Farm Trail event that's part of Ramble, with an estimated 200 plus people on the trail. 65 people participated in the Seniors Harvest Dinner at the Silver Thread Center. We had an ATV ride this year, which was a new activity for the Ramble. 91 riders that were from outside of the region came to participate. Very positive feedback. We did introduce an online map as well as our printed map. We had 679 engagements on the online platform. We did a Fall Fest market. We had 150 attendees. We had 11 people attend from a workshop that we'd also participated in as part of Small Business Week. And we supported 23 vendors in that particular event. And another stat was the Scouts did their Apple Day fundraiser. Last year they sold 2,400 apples, and this year they sold 4,700 apples. So almost double the number of apples, and that doesn't include the other donation in the last year. So another successful Ramble. We did have a couple of events have to be canceled for reasons we disclosed on our socials, but overall an excellent activity. The other activities that staff participated in, we did also attend the Algonquin College Fall Business activity in October. That will end my October report.
Questions on the October report? Councilor Driscoll.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, just a quick one on the Algonquin College Fall Business Conference. How was that? Was there a lot of vendors there set up? Were they businesses or were they municipalities trying to draw in businesses?
So this year the conference was a series of workshops with some keynote speakers dedicated to support industry personnel. It was excellent. They sold out this year, and the engagement was really offered like a great opportunity not only to network but to learn. So we had the opportunity to participate in 3 workshops and had 2 keynote speaker sessions as part of that. General, retired, lieutenant, retired, Rachel, yes. Rachel here was one of our keynote speakers, and he gave an excellent, excellent, address.
Councillor Root.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Christine, just a comment. What a busy month, what a busy year. Great work by everybody, and bringing so much for our community of activities and opportunities, and also bringing new people to our area, tourists and the Ramble. What a year. Awesome. Good work.
Councillor Finn.
Thank you, Mayor Service, and Councillor Roots. I will just follow up what he said, because I was gonna say the exact same thing. Congratulations on another great ramble, and congratulations to you and all the people that made it happen. So, thank you.
Further questions or comments? Yeah, great job again, and I guess in the past, we used to say we had hundreds of people, but now I think we can say thousands of people and thousands of applicants. Thousands of applicants. Okay, do we, I guess we need a motion to pass the report. Moved by Councillor Driscoll, seconded by Councillor Donovan. That the Economic Development Monthly Report for October be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. Okay, now we can go to November report. Christine?
Yeah, so for November, we did have a new commercial business established as a cohabitation with an existing business location and an additional home-based business, registered. I've been working hard to try to close up our community improvement plan documents, to be able to present you with a year-end report on that particular program. In the industrial park, we did meet on expansion opportunities, costing and preparation for budgeting, and as well to sign for the sale of land agreement or a portion of land as agreed to previously by council. Under business general, I did have the opportunity to engage with a multi-tier business owner who came to Petawawa to do a site visit and discuss development opportunities. So I'll be following up with that particular individual into the new year to see if we can make some of these opportunities actual. We also put out the commercial veteran banner program. So we introduced this last year as part of our November program in recognition of veteran businesses operating in our municipality. So those banners went out for the month of November again. And in conjunction with that, we also host a Veteran Business Vendor Expo, again, to raise awareness of the veteran businesses, whether they be commercially based or home-based or regionally within the community, to raise awareness of them and to draw support for them. So we did that event on November the 9th. We also began preparing for the holiday sale market event. I also was privileged again to participate as a judge in the fall pitch presentations for Starter Company. As we move towards completing or starting our VRNA process, we prepared the VRNA job posting and it is now open and live for an individual to come in and support that particular program, which we will be running full stop in beginning January of 2025. I also had the opportunity to participate in cultural awareness training, and under procurement, we did prepare and issue the RFQ for the branding for the redesign of the town logo. There was 2 addendums issued to that procurement. We received the RFQ documentation and we have scored them. And I will take any questions. Okay.
Thank you. Questions on the November report? Deputy Mayor Sandberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Christine, it seems that the CIP was discussed here yet, but I'm really anxious to see that report. So looking forward to that. And just a question with the home-based business, what is the Italian bouillon? I'm thinking of something to do with beverages, but I'm not sure.
So it is a veteran home-based business and it's actual bouillon, so gold and silver. And they were one of, they were one of our participants at the veteran business, market.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. That's even better than bouillon drinks. So good for them. Thank you.
Any other questions on the report? Councillor?
Mr. Mayor, just a comment, the Veterans Business Expo, it's become, I think, a real must visit event. And, I had the pleasure of speaking to the, individuals running that business. I got to handle some real gold, and they have a lot of interesting things for sale. But I have to say, every year is a variety of people who come to that expo, amazes me. So thank you for your work on that, and thank you for bringing that focus to veterans.
Further questions or comments on the report? I think that's a sign also that there are more and more veterans choosing to stay in the town of Petawawa when they leave the military or retire from the military, which is great for our community to have all of them stay here. Any other questions? Okay, I need a motion then to accept the November report. Moved by Deputy Mayor Savin, seconded by Councillor Patu, that the Economic Development Monthly Report for November be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. And just before you take off, thanks to you and your team for the Christmas container market. Hearing nothing but lots of positive feedback on the Trail of Lights, all of the vendors, the gentleman who came from Ottawa and did that amazing ice sculpture carving again as he did last year. And I thought there were more vendors this year than last year. I think.
Yes, the event does grow every year, despite the weather conditions. We had many who did come and brave the weather to participate, and Aiku is our ice sculptor, comes from Ottawa.
Yeah, he's amazing. And I think a lot of the adults were appreciative of the adult hot chocolate being available this year.
I will just tell council that we did the tally of the fundraising support, and there's over $1,370. So both of our local businesses will receive almost $700 in support. And last year, the total for fundraising support was $740. So the community came out and was generous and giving to these local businesses, these local enterprises. And so yeah, they will be the beneficiaries of some good dollars.
Beyond that line of thought, then maybe you could mention to all of us the businesses that were there and did raise the funds, and the two charitable organizations that were the beneficiaries.
So the charitable organizations are the Valor Foundation and Watch My Service Dog. So they will receive the funds raised. Local businesses that were there at the event supporting, so Doghouse Brewing did provide beverages. We had Mount Molson, who was providing ice cream, along with us from the town providing also hot chocolate. The variety of other businesses that were in participation, including Hiscus serving sausages on a stick. We also had Mackey's, a vendor who has participated with us at the market for the last 2 years. And then we had 22 plus vendors who were able to arrive at the event. We had a few who had to but 22 plus vendors at the market.
Right on. Can't wait till Christmas 2024. Okay, we're already past that, so thanks, Christine. Okay, next we have our Public Works Monthly Report for November 2024. Chris, you're up. A lot going on.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Service and members of council. Great to be here tonight. All right, we'll dive right in with Public Works office expansion. We are having exterior siding happen on this week, so the outside work is just about complete. And Mayor Service, I want to let you know they're painting offices next week, so
I just use my color.
take your colors. Sorry, Scott. Okay, so that's it for that one. Wolf Avenue, the PXO was activated December 3rd, so that's great to see happen finally. And should be seeing some movement on that street light very soon. I have some paperwork on to fill out from Hydro One, so that should be taken care of shortly. Murphy Road urbanization is complete for this year. There is some outstanding sod work to be completed in the spring, as well as some minor restoration work. And then there are some construction deficiencies which have been identified and will be addressed in the spring. As far as our net zero project, the update is there. We're looking now for spring commissioning and spring construction for the secondary spill containment, but still the process is moving forward. Under operations, you see a lot of items complete, which is fantastic to see. And of course, we are turning our attention now to winter. Under other activities, there was a few items there I wanted to highlight. Just that our hydrant markers are all in place, which is so important for emergency services vehicles to be able to locate where those hydrants are during the winter months when our snow piles get higher. Also, the Four Season Bridge, we continue every year. We're replacing about 50 boards on that bridge. So I figure in 2 more years we'll have the entire deck of the Four Season Bridge completely replaced. So good work by our public works staff. As well, is mentioned in here, all non-compliant regulatory warning signs were replaced. That's part of our annual retro reflectivity testing program. Petawawa usually scores in the high 90s on those tests. So the way we do it at Public Works is we just look at anything that's failed, we replace, and that keeps our signs in tip-top shape. The next item about crossroad culverts, dry wells, and catch basins with the marking paint. In case members of council don't know, that's so we can locate the drains in the spring after when we start getting our melt season. The idea behind that is we used to go and look with backhoes or loaders, metal detectors, and unfortunately you do damage sometimes to your infrastructure. So by putting the markers on the pavement, we have a good indication of where those drains are. We can find them more efficiently and not damage our infrastructure. So that's the idea behind that. It's a great practice, and I'm happy to see that we're doing it. Under procurement, as everyone knows, we have a new procurement policy, so it's great to see Teddy Suko has been working really hard, utilizing the new procurement policy and still getting some great work done. Improvements to our salt dome, improvements to access to our yard with new roll gate, and then also looking for hydrovac services to clean out our oil grit separators, which are where our storm management ponds are. So by doing that preventative maintenance, we protect those ponds and keep the drainage galleries from getting plugged with sand and dirt and debris. So it's good preventive maintenance each year that we're doing. So wonderful to see us using our new procurement policy and continuing to get lots of work done. As well, on page 48, we highlighted some work that's being planned for guide rail repairs. Under civic properties, it was mentioned here that our manager, Ted Marcotte, assigned some new training for staff. I thought I'd just mention that. All the staff at the Civic Properties Department has taken bullying in the workplace, drugs and alcohol at work, sexual harassment prevention and awareness training, violence and aggression, incident reporting training, WIMIS training, and workplace housekeeping training. So really good to see some good foundational training being completed, and I think setting some good expectations for our Civic Properties Department. So I'm happy to see that. Also under Civic Properties, we see some good maintenance being done. We had some issues with hot water, some hot water tanks that went on us, and we were having some issues with supplying hot water to a couple of change rooms and one of the referees rooms. That's been addressed and taken care of, as well as the heater being changed in dressing room 3. So again, Mr. Marcotte's doing a really good job in catching up with some of the maintenance that needed to be done at the Civic Center. Then under water and sanitary, nothing really to mention there. Everything's been going really well, and nice to see our work order target being reached with 88% and 90% work order completion, which is fantastic. And lastly, I asked for a little bit of leeway, but got granted it. I just thought I'd take a couple of minutes before I answer questions on the monthly. This is my last appearance here for council for 2024. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to some staff. So, I want to thank, a thank you to my staff for their commitment and pride in their roles as public works professionals. Public Works Department is led by Teddy Suko, our Public Works Manager, Ted Markov, our Civic Properties Manager, and of course, Brad Sweden leads our contracted aqua team. We have Peter LaPointe as our Public Works Supervisor, and then we have our lead hand team of Rob Gallant, Joe Brazo, Ann Turcott, Dave McKenzie, and Jason McCrae. And also our unsung behind the scenes heroes, Don Rakowski and Trevor Whitby. And most importantly, I want to thank men and women who keep our departments running day in and day out. Thank you to all our public works operators, both on the transportation and civic property sides. These individuals are the faces of our corporation and have the most direct contact with town residents. We are very fortunate to have such a dedicated and dynamic group. I also want to thank the members of council for the support you've extended to me. Since I became director in late August of 2023, it has been a pleasure to serve the town residents. I take great pride in maintaining and improving the town infrastructure. We have a strong foundation to build from. Finally, I wanted to thank the senior management team led by our CEO, Scott Randall. The town is fortunate to have such highly qualified and committed departmental leaders. In 2024, we invested approximately $10 million in capital improvements to roads, sidewalks, active transportation networks, facilities, fleet, and water and sewer infrastructure. This volume of work can only be accomplished through teamwork and sound planning. Staff at all levels have demonstrated commitment, strong work ethic, and cooperation to see these projects through to completion. I look forward to working with council and the staff as we prepare for a new budget in 2025. So just wanted to say thank you for all the support I've had in 2024. It was a really busy year, but I'm extremely proud of what we were able to accomplish. So thank you, and happy to answer questions.
Thanks, Chris. And it sounds like you're fishing for some budget increase.
Yes.
No.
No, but seriously, thank you, Chris. As a corporation in the town of Petawawa, we're lucky to have you as our director of public works, along with the rest of our senior management team. I think I'm fair to say this, that we are the envy of the county. When anybody comes to our town and sees our roads, our sidewalks, our municipal buildings, our parks, our facilities, everything in this town is always in tip-top shape and in great condition. And that's a testament to our senior leaders and all of our staff who take great care of the town of Petawawa. So I think we are the envy of the county. And it's because of you and the staff. So thanks for that. Okay, let's open it up for questions from the report. Councillor Donovan.
Thank you, Minister. This is through you, Chris. Thanks for the report, Chris. Lots of good information on things and where we're going. I just want to make a comment on your HR training that you've listed that has been taken over this past couple of months, I think. And so important. I'm glad to see that that's become something that we're either reporting or that we're implementing. And I just want to acknowledge and thank Ted Markov for his help with the advisory, the Accessibility Advisory Committee, when he met with us for the Civic Center audit 2 weeks ago. So he was not only his time, but he participated and had some good feedback for it. So please pass that along.
Thanks very much.
Further questions on the report? Councillor Kudu.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Just a comment, really. Thank you for calling out the staff that are on the front line for all the work that gets done. I think we had a conversation early in my council career about how foundational water and sewer and roads are. So all the other things we want to do in this town. So thank you for shouting it to your team, and definitely we are really well served here, and definitely by yourself. Thank you for being a constant professional and for your creativity and your passion.
Further questions or comments on the report? Just a big thanks for the work you did on the Terrace Park parking lot. I think it was a good idea to give it a little bit more of a permanent solution.
Yeah.
To avoid, constantly having to upgrade that parking lot. It looks great. It looks like it'll last a long time. And same thing with the Four Seasons Bridge. I know you're picking away at it slowly, but it's not going to be used by snowmobiles anymore, so it should have a little more longevity.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, if there are no further questions, I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Driscoll. That the Public Works monthly report for November be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thanks, Chris. Okay, next we have the Planning and Development monthly report for December. Oh, thank you, December. It is for December? All right. Melanie, you're up.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank
Feels like we just got here. So yeah, our monthly report is mostly presented the last Monday of the month. So historically, planning and building have been reporting on the activities of the month, most recently past. We presented our last monthly report just 2 weeks ago. So this would normally be presented at the end of the month. That's why it's called the December report. So before you have the monthly report, you can see Appendix A, planning application. That was 2 weeks ago, so not a lot has changed. Couple things I will point out is the land sale in the industrial park. Jimberly Yankee is the document to be signed with the lawyer's office, so that sale is near complete. Bradley Estates Phase 2 subdivision agreement, we're going to be talking about that later this evening, but we're very close to having that ready to go. And that subdivision then in a good position in the spring to be able to build. And the other thing I'll point out is the Hoskins file will be going to be on report next Monday. In Appendix B, you see our building permit activity for the month or for the year to date. It looks like we'll finish out the year with more permits than last year, with building permit fees down a little bit from last year's total. And in speaking with the building officials, there were more blocks on America Crescent for which permits were pulled last year, and we've been building over this year, so fewer less permits there this year. And overall, just less residential this year than in previous years. And we also have received snow earlier this year than last year, so brought a little bit sooner close to some activities than previous years. Pointing out a few things in the other, we had a few meetings. As noted in past reports, I mentioned that I sit in on webinars provided by the IESO, the electrical operator for the province. Basically, what the province is doing to provide the electricity that we need going forward. So Enbridge is starting to do the same thing with the activities they're doing to contribute to the provincial targets. So the first one that I participated in was 2 weeks ago. And they're doing a lot of things. You know, it's not just all building natural gas pipeline. They're talking about recycling natural gas, energy efficiency, those kinds of parts. And I will point out in the last 2 weeks, there's been a number of legislative changes highlighted in the report. There's a new regulation about surety bonds, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And another new regulation passing previous regulation about additional residential units, which we are going to bring to your report at the January committee meeting. And finally, kind of an administrative change in the past, if there were appeals to the Ontario Land Tribunal, they were done through a paper process, and it's now on ever more legislative changes. And that's my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Melanie. Questions on the report? No questions on the report? Okay, if everybody's comfortable, it's nice to see over $40 million again in building permits for the town of Petawawa, so we know we're still growing. Don't seem to be slowing down. And a lot of it is commercial as well, so that's good to see. If you're comfortable, I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Coutu, second by Councillor Carmody. that the planning and development monthly report for December be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. Okay, next we have PL 34 2024, the 2024 provincial planning statement, changes and implications. And you told me you summarized it very briefly.
Yes. It's an exercise to be concise and talking about a 20-page policy document. I did want to point out that planning and development has been public works for reports since 2020. It's an internal competition. So yes, the province of Ontario released a new provincial policy statement that came into effect on October 20th. Section 3 of the Planning Act lets the province issue these policy statements to basically provide direction on matters of provincial interest to municipalities. It's interesting that they changed what has historically been called a provincial policy statement to a provincial planning statement this time. So it's really planning focused. All municipal planning decisions and documents have to be consistent with the policy direction in the provincial, in the PBS. And for the period of time, if we have some policy in our official planning and zoning bylaw that doesn't match the PBS, it prevails. We thought this time frame to transition our document. Basically, in the PBS, the theme is the provincial theme of building more homes. We're trying to streamline things wherever possible to get more homes built. But it's really making sure this time the language has been strengthened that building more homes is important, but we need the infrastructure and the public facilities to go with it. So there's a lot more language around while also protecting the environment and non-renewable resources like agriculture and culture. So those are the main themes in the report. I did want to mention that when the town's new official plan was being developed over 2023 and 2024, there were draft PBS documents out. So a lot of the policies that came out in the PBS we already have in our new official plan. So that's good. And the other thing I wanted to point out was provincial guidance on some of the new policies or updated policies is not yet available. So we're in this period where we've got new policy direction and not a lot of guidance on how to implement it and for what they're looking for in the implementation. So even speaking with some of the provincial ministries, they don't have that policy guidance for us yet. So there's a lot more to come on a new policy document like this. I did point out, items 1 to 6 in the report where we saw, there's a little bit more staff review that we have to do. So some more understanding around the growth forecast. In the housing section, there's minimum density and affordability targets. So how do we figure out those? There's some language around employment areas that have to be a designation in the official plan, so we'll need to amend our official plan to get in conformity with that policy. And it's not just industrial uses, it's very specific uses around warehousing, goods movement, and manufacturing, which is part of the provincial mandate to bolster industry in Ontario. Under infrastructure and facilities, language around aligning planning with the planning for infrastructure and public facilities, protecting important provincial assets like Highway 17 and the airport for us. Early engagement with school boards, which is the first time that has been required. So in the past, we've engaged with school boards and it's been some good discussions, but this time the PBS requires the school boards to engage with us and start planning for growth. And there is some language around partial services in the PPS that we have to get clarity on because their definition of partial services as I point out is, opposite to what we have. So private water, public sewage, we're opposite with public water and private sewage. So some clarity we're looking for there. Indigenous engagement, early engagement is required for the PPS, but there are no guidelines, standards, or recommendations on how we're going to do that. More to understand there. And then in the hazard section, just interesting to see that floodplains have always been defined as the 1 in 100-year flood, but there's now so many ways for us to use global significant events to define floodlines. That's a big change there. So in summary, in our first kind of comprehensive look at the PPS and early training, it looks like the impact on the town is minimal, but looking at these more down. We didn't take any questions.
Okay, thanks for that summary. Melanie, questions on the report? Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thanks for bringing this report forward, Melanie. I can sympathize with your situation, trying to adhere to policy statements that are ill-defined or, not very easy to implement. But as I read through this, and I thought, okay, there's a bit of a disconnect between what the federal government's up to and what the provincial government's up to. The feds make one change to immigration policy, and it has an immediate impact on rents in Toronto and Vancouver. They immediately have downward pressure on them. Rents are coming down in Toronto, believe it or not. And it's predicted to have a significant impact on the supply gap of housing. Just one simple change to immigration policy has a huge impact on what we're talking about right here. And it seems that at the provincial level, they've got much smaller legal levers to play with. And it just seems that so much more could be done by the people with the great big levers than this. But anyway, that's just an observation. Question about the sureties. How does that impact us at the town level? I suspect it doesn't, but is there any administrative changes and differences? Does it get more complex for us, or?
That's the next part, which we can.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
If that's okay, if we
Yeah,
can have that for a bit.
All right then, but that was just a comment.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mayor. We understand that there's gonna be a lot for you to figure out with, lots of stuff, but like for hazards with the new floodplain, how would the town like identify where our hazard begins and not, if it's not been surveyed or whatever, like how are we gonna be able to address that?
So I haven't been involved in it since I come to the town, but I believe that the county has started the process of updating the floodplain mapping. Karen was involved previously and come back before she retired. So that is taking the information from the 2019 flood and trying to update. So the
Any questions or comments? I'd just like to say I really like the piece about the early engagement with the school board. If anybody's in tune to the schools around here in the town of Petawawa, we have a school, Herman Street Public School, that's at about 130% capacity. Because most of our new builds and our subdivisions are all within this Herman Street zone. And the way that traditionally works with the province is you need to build portables and fill those, and build more portables and fill those. And that every other school in town has to be filled to capacity before the province will give out funding to expand the certain school. So I'm hoping that this certain policy will allow the schools to say to the province, we are facing pressures now and we can't wait 5 years. We need to do something now to expand their schools in a town that's growing so fast. So I think it's good to see that this may take place and may help us with our local schools in terms of expanding them quicker than traditionally we would be allowed to. So it's not really a question, just a change. Okay, if there are no other questions, we're gonna receive this, information. Okay, next we'll go to PL-35-2024 subdivision agreement, Brackey Estates Phase 2, subdivision file 47-T-17001, part of lots 19 and 20, in session 6, Murphy/Thornburg. Melanie.
All right, so this report basically covers two areas. Basically advising council that the developers of the next phase of the Brackey State subdivision are ready to go with phase 2. But also with this phase, we have that new piece of legislation that allows owners of land and applicants for land use planning approvals to choose how they wish to fulfill their performance obligations or provide security deposits to the municipality. So that is the most significant revision that you'll see to the agreement to Brackey State. It was attached to the report. Traditionally, the municipalities have accepted cash deposits or letters of credit for security deposits. So accepting these security bonds or surety bonds are new for the town and new for many municipalities. Part of building new housing, developers have been lobbying the provincial government to accept bonds because it frees up cash flow for them and gives them more working capital. And this really resonates with the provincial direction to build more housing and how can we do that fast. So that's some of the background to this regulation. So the regulation was proposed in September. The commenting period closed in October. The regulation was made on November 19th and came into force the very next day, November 20th. So as we've seen with a lot of other provincial regulations, they post a draft, a short commenting period, and it's enforced not on that. So the regulation has a number of conditions that have to be met to accept bonding. And the conditions are meant to accept or to protect municipalities and provide the same level of protection that the cash and letter of credits provided. So the surety has to meet certain licensing and credit rating requirements. We do not have to prove any kind of default like you would with normal insurance. There's no onus on us. We say there's a default, they have to provide the funding. They have 15 days to do that from when we ask for it. In the past, as developers implement works, we're able to give them part of their security deposits back. And so those drawdowns are still possible through funding. And if for some reason the bond is canceled, it can't be canceled until there's some other form of security provided to the municipality. So I included in the reporting attachments, our treasurer and myself, we sat in on a webinar that was provided. Surety Association of Canada provided information during that webinar about what this form of bonds are, what it looks like for municipalities. And they assured all of us on the call that the municipalities will get the same level of protection to current funds. They did note that for home builders, the new instrument gives them the ability to free up cash flow. However, strict guidelines may not make it achievable for all developers. So tying this back to Brackey Phase 2, the developer group is able to meet these requirements under the new regulation. It is their prerogative to provide a bond instead of a letter of credit or cash, provided they can meet these requirements. And so that's what we will be going forward if they are working with their surety, and there'll be a bond agreement for council as part of the subdivision agreement that will get signed. And you can see in the attachment that, a lot of the works for the Bragg Beach Phase 2 are already done. So what makes up the amount of the bond is primarily the guarantee the 20% of the completed work that we do, which amounts to about $1 million. So that is what the amount of the bond looks like for to date. And I'll leave it at that, and open the questions.
Okay, thanks, Melanie. Nice to see this coming forward. I know a lot of our developers have been asking for this kind of leeway in the past, so it's nice to see that the province has included it in their policy and that the municipality still has the protections we need in place. And that it's great to see that it facilitates cash flow for our developers and allows them to continue their development here in the county. Any questions on the report? Councilor Kuzmi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This might be an odd question, but I've been reading something about the analysis of the regulatory impact of this change. I'm just wondering how much time you think it costs you to get up to speed on this, because that was something that was identified. They estimated to be about $1,400 per municipality. I'm just wondering how much of your time is spent in all up to speed.
So because this has been coming for a while, I'm not sure I have a number for you, but I would say not a lot of time. The webinar was very helpful from the Municipal Finance Officers Association. They had spent the time to really dive into it and provide the details. You know, what a bond agreement looks like and that part of it, we haven't experienced yet, but we'll see what that looks like. But I think with it being a regulation, there's a lot of support from other municipalities as well, helping.
Councilor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say, I like this. I think it's going to be very helpful for lots of developers, especially on big projects. So hoping more people get used to it.
Any questions or comments? And we'll receive that for information as well. Thank you very much, Melanie. Next, we'll go to Finance and Management. We've got FIN-21-2024 to 2025, the staff salary grid and compensation rate. Christine, you're up.
All right. We do this every year. We bring a salary grid bylaw to council. Every year, there's a COLA increase. So this year it is a 2% increase, as well as noted in the report, some proposed positions. I do want to preface the report and the new positions that we are not going to be proposing to fill all of those positions in the 2025 budget. As part of our staffing, our budget process, our planning process for 2025, we did take a 5-year forecast, forecasting for 2025 through 2029. So you'll see some positions that we do not intend to fill in 2025, but potentially in 26, 27, and so on and so forth. So again, we're taking a longer term approach as we work on our budget and bring forward a forecast to council. And that being said, there is one correction to the salary grid. One of the new positions, the certified engineering technologist, the revised bylaw, pending council's approval, will be moving from the 1100 to 1199 wage band to the lower band, from the 1100 down to the 1000. So just a minor adjustment, considering the new position. We did some further research into the market for this type of a position and skill set, and it's more appropriate to be placed at that lower wage band. Happy to answer any questions at this time.
Questions on the report? Councilor Griffin.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, I mean, it all looks pretty good. The one question I have is where we have the fire chief slated in. I'm wondering what are comparables work that we looked at is slated in so high.
So I know working with, our HR coordinator, as well as Colin Howard and Scott, so quite a few staff, did a market analysis, looking at, fire chiefs within Renfrew County and within the province. And there is that, premium for fire chiefs within the risks associated with the job.
Okay, so we have a list of which ones. So like I looked up Pembroke, there are 152. Huntsville has a large population there, 133. Bracebridge, 135, and Keeling, which is their exact same population, has about 140. So we're looking at like 160 some thousand at the max of salaries. I'm just wondering how there's such a divide from what I found to where we're stating this niche decision at.
Emilio?
Yeah, so our HR coordinator took some time to look at the market, and some of those would have been considered. The bottom end of that band is about 130, 133, I believe. So is, which is around the range, I think, of what we're looking at. I guess, and I'll be clear, when we get to budget, this is a position that we're not recommending we fill anytime in the near future. So I think we were looking at it and going, where should we be to be competitive to the marketplace? To find a person to fill the full-time permanent position. It's a little different than some of those departments that you mentioned, which aren't full-time. So those are full-time departments, right? Or
No,
you don't think so?
Keeling's not, Huntsville's not, Bracebridge isn't, Pembroke is a composite hall, so they have full-time.
Yeah. But I think when Jody looked at it, she looked at a range of them. Pembroke was in there. So yeah, we were looking at something somewhere in the range of, I think, starting around late 20s, early 30s, like 130, that range. And I believe the bottom of that band is where that falls into. So we're happy to adjust it. Council has been comfortable with it. That's fine. It could probably fit into the band below.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what everyone else thinks as well, but I think we're starting off a little high, for a volunteer fire department. Especially when you have 2 part-time chief and deputy right now, to go from a $60,000 a year job to 100. I know it's step 5, but in 5 years, that's probably where they'll be. So you're looking at 160 some thousand. And when they manage 37.
The 160 is at my range band.
Well, it's $84 an hour, 37 hours a week. Does not work out to $107,000 a year.
It's in the 150 range, I believe, at the end of that band, but I'd have to double check it. Listen, what our concern was and why I asked our HR coordinator to go out and take a look at the market again, because when this position was considered a few years ago, that was before my time, I believe it was set in the band somewhere around the 110s, in that range, $110,000 a year for a full-time permanent position. And looking at the marketplace and what's available out there, like I know full-time firefighters, I think more than that, right?
I agree. Yeah, but I mean, I think we're not bound by any IFF union, stuff like that. So I don't think we can be compared to an IFF chief position. That's all I'm saying. When I look at comparables to Pembroke, what we're paying now, they have a much higher responsibility. They have full-time staff. He doesn't have a deputy chief. There's no training officer. There's no equipment manager. There's no prevention staff. So the role is expanded quite a bit from what we would have. So I would like to be around that area.
Fair comment. Again, like I said, we look out the marketplace, what's available. I know there's a little bit more structure here in regards to the support. But again, this is what Jody came back with when she looked at it. We talked about it. About, yeah, somewhere in a, in a 130 range was probably appropriate to attract the right person, right? So, anyways.
Again, thanks for that. Deputy Mayor Simon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, just with respect to the actual position, I'd like to thank you for that clarification. Better to have them on in case needed and fill them in as we go so that we can at least plan. And we've got that, I believe it's the operating budget coming up this Friday. Thank you very much.
Further questions on the report? So, as a council, do we have to make a decision right now in terms of where these bands are, or is this something they're just being asked to look at this? And I guess we're being asked to approve the grid, so at this moment in time,
So this will be coming back to you at the next council meeting. So if there's any alterations you would like made to it, now would be the time to do it. So we can bring back to you a clean document. We'll make the one adjustment that Christine referred to in regards to which position was it again? Sorry, the certified engineering technologist or GIS specialist. But if you, as Councillor Driscoll mentioned, if you would like us to adjust the fire chief position down a band, we can do that, or wherever you'd like to place it.
are there any other comments on the fire chief being moved to a different band? Councillor Cooper?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll definitely bow to Adam's experience and knowledge of fire departments and how they run, et cetera. The only comment I have is in terms of attracting a good candidate, I'd like to maybe give a preferential employer in that sense. And just looking at some of the larger cities, understanding that they must have a larger job there, but those salaries can get quite high. So imagining if we want to offer someone the quality of life we have in Petawawa, but also, you know, a decent salary. I'm also cognizant that as a fire chief, they are being asked to risk life and limb, maybe more than say the director of public works or director of finance. So to me, I'm comfortable with that band, but I'd be very interested in what my fellow councillors have to say.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to interject. I should have mentioned also the other part of this role that's not mentioned in the band and should actually be, and I didn't catch it, my apologies, is this is also the other role as emergency management coordinator for the community. So it's not just fire chief, we're also asking them to take on that extra role of ensuring that our emergency management plans are up to snuff and they're running that end of the process as well. So just to keep that in mind, it's not just the fire chief, right? So anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Further comment? Councillor Driscoll?
So if we're not planning on advertising for this next year, why do we have to have it in the grid now?
Again, we're looking to the future. The fire master plan is going to come to you in the new year. The intention, at least from my standpoint as a CAO, was to wait until we had hashed through that fire master plan and then we start talking about what do we do on a more permanent basis. I know this has been the conversation in the past about getting back to having a full-time chief or having a full-time chief. So I thought we'd at least give ourselves a little bit more time, especially on a budgetary basis, to get where we need to be to be able to allow for that to happen properly.
So it sounds to me like if we're not planning to put this full-time fire chief as a budgetary item for 2025, we would have another year to discuss this and make a change to the band if we wanted to before we actually hired a full-time chief.
One thing too, and I apologize for not mentioning it earlier, but the Legislative Services Department, i.e. Jody, will be undertaking a pay equity review for the entire salary grid. So we can move it down, and as you mentioned, with a full in-depth pay equity review, not just for this position, but for the entire wage grid, we could potentially move it up, we could move it down, but I don't see any issue with moving it down to where Councillor Driscoll is proposing.
Yeah, you know what, why don't we, I would suggest, I'm not thinking that we're going to consider this based on budgeting we've been doing. We're not going to consider this till 2026. So why don't I suggest that we take it out now and we reevaluate it this year as we do the pay equity study, and then we can address it when we bring this back or before we bring this salary grid back next December. Unless something pressing comes up, but then we bring you a full report analysis that we feel like we need to do it right now, and we found some extra money to do it. Then we will deal with that as it comes, but at the moment, I think our plan is not until 2026. So let's do the pay equity review. We'll have further discussions after the fire master plan review and talk about how we move forward.
So you're suggesting not moving it down then, but just taking it up completely? And so you've seen the past the fire plan and decided whether or not it's the best area. Everybody comfortable with that? We'll just take it off the group for now until, okay? So when we pass this little motion, we'll say as amended. Okay, so I'll read the motion. Or unless, are there any other questions about anything else? Report? So the motion will be that a bylaw be brought forward at a future meeting of council to approve the salary grid for all town of Petawawa employees for 2025 as amended. Okay. So if you're comfortable with that, I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Coutu, second by Councillor Carmody, that a bylaw be brought forward at a future meeting of council to approve the salary grid for all town of Petawawa employees for 2025 as amended. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Okay, carried. Okay, next we have FIN 22 2024 to 2025 council remuneration and fire compensation. Christine, you're up.
Again, this is a straightforward annual exercise. There's the only change to both of these proposed bylaws is the 2% COLA increase. Whereas I did separate the salary grid for staff, just given the amount of proposed changes. So again, happy to answer any questions, but I'm not going to get to 34 reports this year. But I think this is a good report to end on for the year.
Planning and development at 35.
One more next.
Oh, one more next week. They're upping their record.
Next year I'll try.
Okay, questions on the report for council remuneration and fire compensation? So straight 2% across the board. No questions? Okay, if you're comfortable then, I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that a bylaw be brought forward at a future meeting of council to approve remuneration and expenses for members of council, persons appointed to local boards and committees, and members of staff when on municipal business. And that a bylaw be brought forward at a future meeting of council to approve the compensation rates for members of the town of Petawawa volunteer fire department. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thanks, Christine. Next up, we have CAO-05-2024 Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund, Stream 2, new bill. CAO, you're up.
Thank you. I feel like small potatoes with only 5 reports. Even though
Yeah.
This is part 2 of that 5th report. So in November, I brought you a report regarding an application to the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund, CISRIF, Stream 2, which is for new builds. And this report outlined for you the project, which was to build a track as portion, a rubberized 8-lane rubberized track at Field 4 as part of an overall development of track and field facility that would be sanctioned to hold events from across the province and elsewhere, which we don't have anywhere in Rutherford County, is my understanding. I'm not going to go through all the details in regards to the benefits because that part hasn't changed. What you did direct me to do is to come back to you with some more information in regards to the financial implications. So we took as you know, we've been going through the budgeting process. So we took a look at what projects we have coming up in 2025, hopefully that we're going to bring to you to consider. On your desk, you will find, as part of that budgeting process, we rechanged. Since I last sent you the chart last week, showing you what the capital projects are, proposed capital projects are for Civic Properties, which this particular application, this project would fall under if it were to be applied for. So you'll see in the new chart, that we have a number of projects, totaling just over $1 million for Civic Properties or facilities improvements. One of the larger ones is the parking lot phase 1 at $650,000. That's phase 1 of this project, and you'll see that $400,000 of it would come from reserves being proposed, and an additional $250,000 from our Canada Builds funds, which is the fuel tax money that we receive. From OSIF, which is the Ontario Infrastructure Fund. It's hard to keep track of all the acronyms and programs. So that is what the split is on that project. The rest, you can see our mix of, there's 2 projects that were carryovers in regards to reserves, and that's the Civic Center air conditioning units that need to be replaced, or the one that needs to be replaced, as well as the repairs that need to be done on the elevator in the Civic Center. Those have been coming out of reserve. So we've got, overall, you'll see just below this, the main chart, a listing of the 2 reserves that we generally use for Civic Center and Parks work, and that is the Civic Center Reserve, as well as the estimated Parks Reserve. So, based on the projects that are within this chart, and as I've listed in my report, we've had a bit of a change in the amounts available. So there are general use funds outside of those projects in each of the reserves that are available that aren't earmarked for anything else. General use, $344,235.44 in the Civic Center Reserve. And under the Parks Reserve, there is an availability of $453,143.86 that haven't been earmarked for any other projects. The amount that we'd be looking for in regards to matching funds for the track project is just a reminder, it would have to be 50%. These are 50% dollars or 50 cent dollars that the province is giving out. Would be $425,000 or $425,399 if we were not to get special consideration, which would change the funding mixture to 70% from the province. So you could draw from both of these reserves in order to cover that amount if you were to apply for the money for this project. I will mention one other thing that should be taken into consideration, that there was the CISRA application to Stream 1 that you authorized previously in October. And we did make the application. That was for the ball field lighting improvements and expansion. And we have yet to earmark where the matching funds for that project would come from. And that amount is $264,075 if it were to be approved. I said this before, and I will say it again. The chances of the province approving both projects are pretty slim, considering you've got $200 million that every rural community in the province is going after, with a lot of aging infrastructure. So it wouldn't surprise me that the province would sit and say, you get this one, but you don't get that one, right? But then I could be surprised and they can say, yeah, Petawawa, we love you, we're going to give you some more money. Something they've done in the recent past. So, but anyways, that is the financial information to date. And again, you as a council may look at these projects that are listed here and say, we're not going to support all of those when it comes to reserves, other than the AC and the elevator, because those are already approved projects. They're just carrying over from 2024 to 2025. So that's where it stands. Are there any questions in regards to the financial situation?
Okay, so just one for clarity. So what you're saying is the $400,000 that are in reserve, and it says Civic Center parking lot phase 1. We as a council can make the decision that we think that $400,000 would be better spent on something that would be resource to the community. So there's also that $400,000 available for other projects based on council's will.
That would depend on the budgeting process if you decide that project is worthwhile. Now, I'll mention phase one of that project, staff have looked at it and this has been pushed on for some time now. We have significant drainage issues, especially in the rear of that building. Not only caused by the roof, but also at ground level. The phase one of that project really, just to give you some details, not only helps to, well, we put storm drainage in, that's required there, and as well as the oil grit separation system, as you've seen, Chris mentioned it earlier in regards to our holding bonds. We need to be able to separate out the sand and silt that would build up. It would allow for paving of the Zamboni exit, as well as around all of the outbuildings. Our health and safety committee has noted that we have some, especially during the winter, we have some safety issues back there. When it's not a pond during the rainy season, it turns into a nice sheet. So there's been some concerns about making sure that that's a little more safer for our workers, because we still continue to use the storage back there. Our workers are in and out of there, as well as the work sheds that lie behind the civic center as well. And of course, we're moving that Zamboni in and out too, right? So not that that's much of a concern on ice, but you know.
Okay, but there's still about $800,000 in reserve to be used towards these two projects, and none of it would fall into taxation.
Yeah, so the 400,000 that you see that's been dedicated to the parking lot phase one, if you think that project can wait, you can say to yourselves, yeah, we can set aside both amounts for these applications, your first application as well as this application. And if they're successful, you got them. One of them successful, you get the money there. Either way. And then if they're not successful, then we have the money sitting there and we can do then if you approve, we can do the work around that's needed to be done at the civic center on that parking lot.
I'm just looking at the two general use reserve budgets, 344, 453, which adds up to about 800,000.
Sorry, yeah, you've got about 800,000 sitting there. The other
400.
The other concern is, and I'm trying to make sure everything's on the table here, I haven't mentioned, is the current state of our reserves as a corporation. We're watching them deplete. Christine and I have had a number of conversations, not only if we're going to have that as, we're going to workshop that with you guys in the new year, but we need to bring a new reserve policy and a new system for reserves and reserve funds. We're concerned about the level of some of our reserves at this point in time because we haven't been funding them properly. Other than maybe three, the fire reserve is getting to a point where it's robust, but that's specific to fire activities. And of course our water and sewer, right? Especially our water, which is well budgeted. So these are things that we need to talk about and be concerned about as we go forward. We'll have those conversations as we get the budget as well, how we fund those and the need for it. So, but currently you're right, there is about $800,000 in funds currently available without even considering the parking lot project.
Okay, thanks. Questions from members of council? Councilor Kuzmin.
Thank you for clarifying that. I want to make sure. I definitely believe that the civic center parking lot should be a priority. I've been saying about it for years and years and years. I health and safety concerns. So I'm glad to know that that can be covered, and then we can consider this, looking at the general use funds that are out there. I just wanted to ask, in terms of the changes we've made to the development charges bylaw, will that assist in us creating more robust reserves?
Question for the director of finance. Is she still here? Or is she black? Of course she has. I will have to talk to her about that. I'm not sure if we can take DCs and shove them to reserves. The DCs that we do receive, I think they accumulate and they're there. It's not a lot. So we'd have to take a closer look at it and have that conversation about how they're used and how they're saved and used on projects that are meaningful.
Further questions? Councillor Donovan.
Thank you. After you to CAO. First off, I do concur with Lisa or Councillor Couture that the parking lots aren't sexy, but certainly something that we need to make a bit of a priority, as we have over the years. The big question I have is, have we had an opportunity over the last 3 weeks, 2 weeks to have a conversation with our ministry rep in terms of the application of the grant money with regards to phase 2?
I haven't, but my understanding that the program's still open. We've received no indication that it's closed. And my understanding of this program is that it's open until it's all spent. So we've received no indication from them whether or not the program has been closed completely. But I haven't spoken to our local regional rep in the last few weeks. Unfortunately, I was away for a week with my family, but prior to that, I didn't get a chance to check in with her.
I did speak with her a week and a half ago, and she is on the evaluation committee for these grants. Now, she does not evaluate any of these applications that pertain to her catchment area here in Renfrew County, but she would evaluate projects, let's say in Petawawa or Windsor, things like that. They have started making evaluations of Stream 2 funding applications. So the indication she gave to me is that once they start evaluating applications without the problem, is that it won't be long until it's closed, because the evaluation has already begun. So her words to me was, you better get it in soon, or you need to debt. Deputy Mayor Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Scott, if I could just ask for some clarity with respect to the ball field lighting application. I believe I heard you say that we submitted, we haven't heard anything yet. Is the $264,075 that you referenced, is that the amount that we would be paying, and we have not budgeted for that yet? Is that what I heard you say?
I think, yeah, well, we have the motion on hand, and it's unfortunately it's not in here, but yeah, so we've said and we've committed by resolution that if that application is successful, we would put up that $264,000 and change as matching funds, assuming that we don't get special consideration, which we also applied for on that application for it to be 70-30. So which would lead to a lower amount, obviously, for our contribution. But yeah, we would probably, with that project, we'd be looking at reserves as well, because I think based on everything I've seen in one of those conversations on Friday, I don't think taxation's the preferred route for that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, because that was my thought as well. And if I could just go back to the Civic Center equipment reserve of 344, and then we've got the parks reserve. Those are for our parks. And in our subdivisions and with all of our new development that's occurring. So those are for our community parks. Am I correct on that?
Now, if you take a look at the projects that are listed under the Parks Reserve, it has been used in the past as for other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you'll see scoreboard. They work on diamonds, baseball fields, stuff like that. So it's been used for what would be considered park features. So playing fields and tracks would be included under that as well.
So could it also though be used for parks in our subdivisions?
I think it's been
Right.
drawn upon for that
Okay.
in the past as well. I think that Parks and Lou is mentioned in there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so playgrounds are considered to be an eligible expense under that reserve, yes. That's again, this goes back to the need for a reserve policy.
and understand the difference between reserves and reserve funds, where reserve funds are dedicated funds for specific activities and only those activities. We may have all the best intentions in the world of setting up a reserve and saying it's going to pay for these things, but unless it's really written in stone, that's how it gets spent. That's sort of how they tend to get treated, but we need a new policy around that and how we operate.
Councilor Kern.
Thank you, Mayor Service. So reserves, reserve funds, development charges, all different pots of money. I remember seeing a report come to council a couple of years ago about the park, the proposed park for Radke Estates. And it was, if I remember correctly, quite an expensive park. Where would something like that get funded? And how are we fixed to create $1 million park? Or whatever it was, whatever the cost of it was.
So that's a really good question. Because based on the state of our reserves right now, it would have to be taxation unless we found other money. CCBF, I believe, can be used for new builds. So that's Canada Builds Fund. So you can use some of the money from that, depending on what you're doing. But any new infrastructure, CCBF can be used for that, the fuel tax. We could taxation, whatever we have left in reserves. So building up, we can be innovative and build those funds up through several different methods. We can apply for money elsewhere if there's a program available. But I would suggest a project of that size and that dollar figure, you're probably looking at a mixture of funds based on the current state of our reserves.
The current state of our reserves is somewhat iffy at the moment.
Yeah, if you take a look at what I've given you, that's where our reserves will be at the end of 2024. Actually, sort of almost, if you don't spend any of that general use fund, at the end of, I would say 2025, that's where you're going to be at, right? Or less than that because of that other money will get spent. So yeah, it's not too bad, but still, it wears down quickly.
Councilor Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to bring up related to the baseball diamond. I want to remind everyone that that project's going to result in massive hydro savings. So I think within 8 years, we make our money back on that project if we end up paying in the 50/50. Also, we're going to have increased earnings through more games, more tournaments, etc. So to my mind, I know we're talking about reserves, etc., but I feel like being financially prudent means making timely strategic investments. So looking at the track as something that's going to bring revenue to the town from it being booked out. The fact that we now have approved a municipal accommodation tax. So within 4 years, if we get what we were predicted to, we'll have to get our 50/50 share. I'm thinking that this is one of those really virtuous investments where we're going to see the returns both in the town, in our coffers, but also in our community, increase accommodations, increase people frequenting our businesses. So thinking about the responsibility we have to use the tax dollars we have to increase both what we offer out of our residents, but also what we increase our businesses who choose to locate here. To my mind, this is an investment that's going to pay off, especially for those really passive things like parks and trails. And I just want to be reminded that I think it was $900,000. That was for the whole trails system, wasn't that? And I remember, I think we had a big presentation about it.
Through the chair, yeah, listen, this was early in my, my tenure. In fact, I think we had this discussion of the last budget cycle, my first budget cycle with you. That project was put on the back burner to something because of the cost of it. And I think it was more than $1 million, if I remember correctly. But that's something, that, again, it's how you address these projects and I'm a big fan of phasing.
It doesn't have to be all in one shot. We can take a look at things. This one in particular, just to speak to the pros, you've got school district at the table, and we have received a letter of support and a commitment from them on the other field elements for this project. So they've committed to putting up their share of the 295,000 outside of the track development itself. So, which is the second time they put money into Field 4. They put an initial 400,000 where we built the pitch, as well as put in the irrigation system, as well as the original limestone dusted track around it. This next step, I'm thinking they're looking at us as an organization and saying, we'd like you to step up and build on the rest of it, right, as your portion. So it's something to consider as well. Sorry to be so pragmatic about it, but there are other elements to consider here. In regards to partnerships within the community, and of course, there's the comments around revenues generated. So there are some potential revenue benefits to the community, but again, we have to think about how we're using our monies and investing, and what kind of infrastructure we're investing in, right? Especially as we're taking those steps towards, where should we be in regards to revenue generation and what should we be spending it on, right? So, and I leave that to you. All I can do is give you the details.
Just a little correction there. The initial investment by the school board back in 2014 was $750,000.
Sorry.
To build the initial field and the sprinkler system. And the letter that we received from them last week confirmed their $300,000 financial funding of their portion of the field events. And the letter also stated that they will contribute up to $500,000. So they agreed to give 300 and we'll go with 500,000 towards the track and field project. Okay, further questions?
I didn't know that. That's a new information.
Councillor Discon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I said the last time I talked about this, I'm definitely for the project. I think it is good. Fairly low maintenance, get a lot of people on a surface. So cost is fairly low. I like that it's going to bring in a lot more people for these events. Because I mean, OFSA and the OFSA are definitely large draws. Not very often will we ever have 3 funding sources from a provincial and a school board and us. That is a pretty rare sight. So I think we take advantage of it now. After looking, I like that this is what we asked for last time, and I was laid out now to see where our money is, where our reserves are. Some things, if we are lucky enough to get both, some things might have to be adjusted throughout the year for some other things, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But for right now, I will be voting yes on this.
Further questions? Deputy Mayor Sadler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe that one of our greatest responsibilities as elected representatives is to exercise our fiduciary responsibility. And that means our duty of care for taxpayer dollars. It's our responsibility to inform ourselves completely as possible, to exercise sound judgment and make good decisions. It involves sensible decision making that's based on careful examination of information. I am missing, however, still 2 pieces of critical information: an entire budget, of which we've got an operating budget today, and we will have a budget process in 4 days to assess that, as well as the capital budget, which we will be addressing in 11 days from now. That will be a fulsome picture for me. Both of these documents, I believe, are paramount in determining both our short and long range plans for recreation and culture in the town of Petawawa. Our budget process, as I said, will provide a fulsome financial picture for council decisions, and it will also include all of our departments and all of the things that we need to do in the coming 5 years. I guess it's 5-year budget. It will assist in determining what we can and what we can't do, and what tax increases must look like for 2025. I'm not against building a rubberized track as a priority for the town. This could just as easily be about an aquatic center, about a soccer dome, about redevelopment of Petawawa Point, or anything else. I just haven't seen the reports the recommendations, the comprehensive data, which is part of the town's budget, that tells me today that this is the best use of our taxpayer dollars. I don't feel I can commit taxpayer dollars to a new project without due diligence, and that is why we commissioned a recreation master plan, and that's why we carry out budget deliberations. For me, in my opinion, to do anything otherwise would be irresponsible. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor Service, and thank you, Deputy Mayor Sabra, for that. Normally, it's me reading prepared speeches.
I didn't want to miss a thing.
That's totally awesome. And I have to say that I agree with your position. I will not be supporting the recommendation here today. I'm not opposed to tracks, but I am opposed to the process. In all my time at council here, I have never seen us budget or spend money in this manner. And it seems to be a little bit of a pattern that we've noticed. And as the deputy mayor says, on the Folsom picture that's in front of us, we can make the decisions. I have to be financially sound for our constituency. And my gut feeling that part of being financially sound is having that full picture and the fulsome discussion that goes along with it. And this is what I'll be doing. I know it's one of these situations where we're being asked to move because the window's closing, and however the wheels of government do not move quickly. They're designed to move slowly and deliberately. And I think it's very important. I cannot abandon established financial procedures that we followed quite successfully for quite a number of years, just to hurry this process along. So I'm not going to be able to support the recommendation.
Thanks, Councillor Coutu.
Well, Councillor, just a note, this is not a new project. This has been a project in the works for years. Phase one's already done. And this is also a project that's been identified in our recreation master plan. So we received a draft of the plan for a review, and it's listed by name as something that would help us build competitive athletes in our community. And I think I want to mention that the cost of everything goes up every year. So if we don't do this now with the quotes we have, we might be looking at paying a whole cost that's higher down the road. So again, it's, to my mind, irresponsible not to seize the moment and get this done when we know we want it.
Further questions or comments? Okay, I guess I'll weigh in. Like Councillor Driscoll said, we have an opportunity here that doesn't come along very often. This grant program, the Stream 2 program, is something that was just introduced by the province of Ontario for this year. And who knows when it'll ever come about again for small rural municipalities to access this kind of funding to build infrastructure that will not only benefit our community, but the entire county. And as we heard, with the MAT tax coming into place in the town of Petawawa, the more we fill our hotels, the more revenue we generate for our town, as well as for the OPTA to promote things that are happening in our town. As Councillor Driscoll said, many events could be hosted at a facility such as this, bringing in revenue not just to the town, but for all of our commercial businesses, our restaurants, our hotels. We've seen in the past when Petawawa has hosted large sporting events like this, like in 2017 when the cross country was here. It brought 6,000 people into our town. People coming to that event had to stay as far away as Canada because they filled every hotel from here to Pembroke to Deep River to Renfrew to Arnprior. So not only does it benefit our community, but the entire county as well. And as Councillor Driscoll said, we have three streams of funding here. One is the potential for up to 70% of this to be covered by this Stream 2 recreational infrastructure funding, plus up to $500,000 from the local school board that's willing to participate a school board that gave $750,000 about 10 years ago with a promise that phase 2 would be completed. And here we are 10 years later and it's not completed, and the school board is saying, we're still in it. We're still willing to participate in this project. So, and I understand Councillor Carmody and Deputy Mayor Savner, part of being a council and being accountable to the taxpayers of this town, and being fiscally responsible. But, again, part of it is taking advantage of opportunities that we may have and that may arise here in the town of Petawawa in terms of government funding, partnerships with local school boards. And what we're merely trying to do here is take a chance, put in an application, see if it's successful, and then other decisions could be made at that point, especially if we do get the special consideration funding, which is 70%, which makes that decision a whole lot easier. And if we get the 50%, decisions can be made at that point. In terms, by the time we find that out, we may be through our two budgetary days this week and next week, and have a better picture of what we're planning not only for 2025, but for 5 and 10 years down the road. So I agree with Councillor Coutu. I think to not take a chance on this would be irresponsible if this is something our recreation master plan has set out as something our town needs. And if it's 5 years or 10 years down the road when we build this, we may not have government funding. The school board may not have their funding, and it may fall on us completely to fund a project like this. Okay, are there any other questions? Councillor Dunn.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. My apologies if I've missed this somewhere within this application process. Is the act of applying a legal commitment to follow through with the project?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they would require a resolution from council that they have committed the matching funds. To,
If we don't get the funding.
if you don't get the funding, then you don't spend the dollars, right? So, but you would be committing yourselves, not unlike the first application that we dealt with in October, that the matching funds would be available to carry out the project.
Any questions? So I think what the CAO is saying is that take the ball diamond lights, for example, if it comes back and it's successful, then we have to commit to the $264,000. And if we say, I don't think we want to do that, then we would say, thanks for the money, but we're not going to proceed with that project.
So the continuation of that would be the same with this second application. And we looked at this more as an application process for some potential funding as opposed to the budget issue. What I'm asking right now, can we move forward with filing it, wanting it and filing it, but with the opportunity to respond?
Basically, we're asking ourselves the question of whether or not we can renege if they approve it.
Okay, so would be reneged.
Well, I would look bad on us as a community. I think if we apply for funds, they approve and say, yeah, we agree with that project. We want to fund half the dollars. And then we say after the fact, no, we've just changed our minds. We don't want to do this project. Didn't give the money to another community. I've never done that, but I think in regards to our standing in applying for funds for other programs, that would be remembered and filed away, and it might hurt us in the long run.
Councillor Finn.
Thank you, Mayor Service. I guess to summarize it, in my mind, opportunity does not trump policy and procedure. If it did, anytime some opportunity came along that you thought was worthy, you would just abandon established policy and procedure and chase after it. So that's why we have policy and procedure, to ensure that stuff like that doesn't happen.
Further questions or comments? Okay. I'll read the recommendation. It's that council provide direction on submitting an application to the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund, CSRIF, for $425,398 and setting aside $425,399 in matching funds for the 2025 financial year if it is approved. Oh, sorry. Councilor Turner?
Can we record the vote?
Please. Colin?
Give a motion first.
I need a motion. Moved by Councilor Coutu, seconded by Councilor Driscoll. So I'll call for the vote, but we're gonna do a recorded.
Yeah. We'll start clockwise. Well, my clockwise.
Yay.
Sorry,
Yay.
Councilor
Nay.
Deputy Mayor Stalin.
Nay.
Mayor Service.
Do I move now or at the end?
Yeah, well, no.
Yes.
Councilor, Bruce,
Yes.
Councilor Donovan,
Nay.
Councilor Driscoll. Yes. That is, the yeas have it, 4-3.
Okay, thanks, everybody. That was a lengthy discussion. Next, we'll go to Legislative Services Monthly Report for November 2024. Colin, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor Service, through you, the council. Hopefully this will go a little bit easier. I'll briefly highlight a few of my key points in my monthly report for November. Under animal control, there, council will see there's two monthly reports. As you recall, I did not receive my animal control stats last month in my October report, so there's 2 months worth there. I'll just touch on this vicious, can't say that word, animal. Thank you. Report of a dog bite at the Roche Crescent, and there was a provincial offenses notice issued for that incident. Turning over the page into November calls, there was a report of a dog running at large on Melody Trail, and the animal control officer also issued a provincial offenses notice that there was a multiple occurrence for failing to have the dog leashed and running at large. Then over under bylaw enforcement, I'll just highlight that we had 16 infraction notices in the month of November. And there was 75 winter parking notice letters issued for distributed vehicles for parking overnight. Burning, we had 4 written warnings issued for under the burning bylaw for our residents on Sally, Plum Tree, Spring Hill, and Selkirk. And then under Commissioner Vos, I had a total of 17 requests for the month of November. 1 request was declined due to a family court matter. Under marriage licensing, we issued 4 marriage licenses for the month of November and received $400 in our revenue. And under the community flag requests for the month of November, we had the Remembrance Day flag flying from the 1st to the 15th, and the Lebanese flag from the 17th to the 30th. And I'm happy to take any questions from council.
Any questions on the report? Then I need a motion to accept the monthly report. Moved by Councilor Ruth, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin. The council receives the Legislative Services Monthly Report for November as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? So it's carried. Nothing for general matters, no closed meeting. I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councilor Coutu, seconded by Councilor Donovan, that the meeting be adjourned to the call of the mayor. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.